Have you ever heard someone say they just talked to somebody in Australia, Japan, or South Africa using nothing more than a wire and a tree and a radio? It sounds almost impossible, but that's exactly what makes HF radio so incredible. Let's talk about the magic of the bands right here on Ham Radio for Beginners on Ham Shack TV. Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to Ham Radio for Beginners on Ham Shack TV. I'm your host, Josh, AA4WX. So far in this series, we've primarily focused on VHF and UHF, repeaters, handheld radios, programming, antennas, and everything to get you started. Today, we're stepping into an entirely different world, the world of HF. But before we get there, guys, don't forget to check out this wonderful sponsor for this series, Gigaparts. Maybe you're just now getting into the hobby, or maybe you're looking at refresher content. That's fine. Gigaparts has got everything you need to get on the air, with the exception of the license. Check them out, Gigaparts at 6123 University Avenue, Huntsville, Alabama, near the beautiful UAH campus. Or you can shop in your socks online, gigaparts.com. And hey, while you're at it, why don't you protect your gear? Gigaparts has this new program called Rewards Plus, 4 times rewards points, 60-day return window, and a perpetual warranty. Wonderful product, guys. Check it out. It's on Gigaparts' website right on the front page. If you use coupon code HamShackTV50, you're going to get half off your first month of Gigaparts Rewards Plus. And while you're doing that, you're actually supporting Ham Shack TV. Don't forget to do that. But if you're not looking for that kind of protection, that's fine too. We can still get you double rewards points. Use coupon code HamShackTV. Thank you, Gigaparts, for your support of Ham Shack TV. All right, so let's get started. The world of HF. What does HF actually mean? HF stands for high frequency. And in amateur radio, HF generally refers to the bands between 160 meters and 10 meters. Unlike VHF and UHF, which are mostly line of sight, HF signals can bounce off layers of the Earth's atmosphere. Pretty cool, right? I know my buddy Chris Bowden, he certainly would agree. And that is called the ionosphere. That means your signal can travel hundreds, thousands, or even around the world. It's one of the reasons so many operators fall in love with HF. One day, you might be talking to someone in Texas, like my buddy Jason, KC5HWB, Ham Radio 2.0. And the next day, you might be talking to someone in Germany. And later in that evening, a station in Japan. It's different every day. And that's part of the fun. So what do you need to get on HF? First, you'll need an HF-capable transceiver. Unlike a handheld radio, an HF radio is designed to operate on the amateur HF bands. They are a lot bigger, a lot bulkier than your handheld radio. You also need an HF antenna. These are generally much larger than antennas for VHF and UHF. Some of these antennas, specifically for like 160 meters, you're talking a load of wire, a lot of wire. But that doesn't mean you do need a giant tower or a gigantic piece of property. There are different options. Many operators use simple dipoles, in-fed half-wave antennas, or vertical antennas. If you don't have a lot of property to work with, a vertical antenna may be your best option. If you have an HOA, a wire antenna is probably your best bet to hide the antenna from the HOA. And both of these will give you excellent results. You'll also need a power supply. Typically, I recommend a switching 30-amp power supply. Those are typical, the best. You'll need some coax. And we've talked about coax. It just depends on your needs, what kind of coax you need. And, of course, you need your amateur radio license. If you don't already have your amateur radio license, check out my friends at hamradioprep.com. They can give you 10% off if you use my coupon code HamShackTV at checkout. And that's not only just for the technician. If you're going for general or extra class, coupon code works. Check them out. HamRadioPrep.com. Use coupon code HamShackTV for 10% off. So depending on your country and license class, the HF privileges available to you may vary. One thing new operators notice is HF sounds different. Instead of a perfectly clear repeater audio, you will hear static, fading, background noise, and stations come and go very easily. That is completely normal. HF is much more dependent on conditions in the atmosphere. Remember we talked about the ionosphere a few moments ago? This is why. Some days the bands are wide open. Other days it's completely dead. That's all part of the hobby. Another big difference is operating styles. On HF, you will hear casual conversations called rag chews. You'll hear people chasing DX. DX means distance, stations that are not in your country. You'll also hear contest, parks on the air activations, special event stations, digital modes like FT8, and much, much more. There's always something happening somewhere on the HF bands. Now, one question I hear all the time is, how much power do I need? The answer may surprise you. Many operators use 100 watts or less. Some operators intentionally only use 5 watts. That is called QRP. With good operating conditions and a good antenna, even low power, 5 watts or less, can produce amazing results. Speaking of antennas, remember what we learned earlier in the series. Your antenna often matters more than your radio. A modest HF radio connected to a well-installed antenna will usually outperform an expensive radio connected to a poor antenna. Do not overlook the importance of your antenna system. If you're just getting started, don't expect to work the entire world on your first day. HF has a learning curve. You'll learn how bands change throughout the day. The lower bands, and there's a difference between lower and higher. I hear arguments all the time about it. But as far as the lower number bands, 10, 15, or 10, 12, 15, 17, 20, those bands are typically better during the day. Whereas at nighttime, 40, 60, 80, and 160 meters, those are better at night. But that, again, it just all depends on how propagation is and how it affects communication. The more time you spend on the air, the more you'll learn. I know that's been true for me. And honestly, that's one of the most rewarding parts of amateur radio. You may have your extra class license, you may have your general class license, or you may just have your tech license, but it is a license to learn. All right, so let's talk about this video's takeaway, and I'll try not to play the wrong music. HF opens the door to worldwide communication. Introduces new challenges, new operating styles, and opportunities to contact people from nearly every corner of the globe. Once you make your first DX contact, you'll understand why so many operators become passionate about HF. In our next episode, we're going to answer the obvious question. How does that actually work? We'll explore radio propagation, the ionosphere, solar activity, and why your signal can travel halfway around the Earth or halfway around the world one day, but barely leave your state the next. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Ham Shack TV, and share it with another new ham. Thanks for watching, guys. Go check out the new Ham Shack radio station live streaming right now on Ham Shack TV. We'll see you in the next video, 73 AA4WX, WFCB 693. That's HamShackTV.com.